Now it's my great honor and privilege to introduce our presenters for this evening. First, Kelsey. Kelsey Aaron joined the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in March 2016 as a volunteer. Now, as the AFSP Executive Director for Indiana, she supports AFSP's mission of saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide by working with AFSP staff members and amazing volunteers to raise awareness. Kelsey does all of this to honor her dad, who she lost by suicide in November 2001. Brandon Puszkiewicz is the program manager for the Indiana chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. He joined the organization as staff in July of 2022, having served as a volunteer with the organization for 10 years prior. Brandon joined the organization initially to help support loss survivors in his own life. But throughout his journey, his connection has grown much deeper and personal. Brandon has lived experience with suicide and is passionate about bringing access to resources to anyone who has been touched by suicide. Welcome to you both, Brandon and Kelsey. Feel free to begin and proceed in any manner, in any order you choose, and take all the time you need in this hour.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Robert, and everybody on the call tonight. I do have a presentation, so let me go ahead and get this up and running. All right. What's that look? Cool. All right. Well, as Robert mentioned, my name is Brandon Puszkiewicz, and I'm the programs manager for the Indiana chapter of AFSP. I was a volunteer for about a decade before I was able to have the opportunity to join as a staff member, which I'm very grateful for. It was one of those sort of stars aligned moments for me to be able to really do what I love, every single day. So as a volunteer, I really served in a number of capacities. I served as a walker at our fundraising walks. I joined as a field advocate and helped with the public policy and advocacy aspect of the organization. I chaired the walk at my university's campus at Ball State, and then I went on to serve as a board member for about 3 years before moving into the role as a staff member. And then with me today, I do have Kelsey Aaron, Executive Director of AFSP. Kelsey, is there anything else you wanted to add about yourself?
No, we're excited to be here. We wanted to use this hour to just kind of use this time to let you know what resources and tools AFSP has for you and how we can be of service to you regardless of where you are across the country. So we're really looking forward to this. So thank you, Katie, too, for coordinating.
Yes, thank you. So before we get started, suicide can be a sensitive topic to discuss, but we know that talking about suicide is critical when it comes to its prevention. And really, again, just grateful to have you all here to join us for this important conversation. If at any point during the presentation you feel the need to, step out, if you need to shut your camera off, turn off your screen, log off for a moment, whatever that looks like, please feel free to do so and take care of yourself. Overall, we hope that you're just able to learn more about our organization, our chapter here at the local level, as well as the various resources that we have available to you all. So our mission here at AFSP is to save lives and bring hope to those that have been impacted by suicide. There's obviously a reason that, we're all here today. So whether maybe we have lost somebody to suicide, or maybe we know somebody who has or is struggling with a mental health condition, or maybe suicidal thoughts, or maybe we've personally attempted or have struggled ourselves, whatever that connection is, it's brought us here. We've taken that experience or that pain or that grief, and now we want to do something actionable with it. And we want to push ourselves to learn more and really bring this topic to light. And it is estimated that the majority of Americans will experience a suicide loss over the course of their lifetime. So AFSP was actually founded in 1987 by researchers and families who had lost loved ones, and they wanted to do something about it. They wanted to take action against what we now recognize as a leading cause of death. So today, AFSP combines science and grassroots efforts and really provides a nationwide movement to those who have been impacted by suicide, which is over 1 million people with chapters in all 50 states, including Washington, D.C., as well as Puerto Rico most recently. So AFSP today, we are the leading national nonprofit organization that is dedicated to suicide prevention. We have proven to be sustainable and fast growing as well. AFSP is evidence informed and driven by science. And I think that is a really neat thing to be able to say when we give presentations like this, that, you know, the research that we do directly impacts the programs that we develop and the resources that we then provide to communities. We engage those that have personally been, affected by suicide, as well as mental health professionals and community leaders like yourselves. We've invested over $30 million per year in research, in education, in advocacy, and support for those that have been affected by suicide. And AFSP prides itself on, the impact that we've had around the country, but we also recognize that we have not done that work alone. So we are really grateful to have partnerships with many well-known organizations whose missions align with ours and have really just helped us to have a greater impact. So this is just, I think, our most updated slide that we have, but our partnerships are always continuing to evolve and increase. So some pretty, cool big names on there. Aetna, CDC, NAMI, we have the, Department of Veterans Affairs, Trevor Project, the Veterans Crisis Line. So some really great opportunities for partnerships.
So for me, when getting involved as a volunteer prior to being staff, it was important to make sure that if whoever I was aligning with was a reputable organization. So AFSP is a 4-star charity with the Charity Navigator, which is the highest ranking. And then our CEO is committed to keeping the overhead costs under 20%. So we're sitting around 17.1 to 18% right now, which this is important to know whether people are giving their time or funds or whatever that looks like, that the money or the time is really going to the mission, which is key. We have a few things here. So Brandon touched on the research piece, and that's truly like the foundation of everything that we do. From that comes advocacy. So Brandon will go more in depth on this, but our volunteers alongside those community partners that he just shared were key in helping shift the 1-800 suicide prevention lifeline to that 3-digit crisis number 988, which is incredible and awesome. So whenever we hear people say like, I can't do anything, I'm just a neighbor, or I'm just a mom, or I'm just, a sibling. It was just random, normal, everyday people that helped make that possible, which is super awesome. We have that prevention education that stems from our research too, and that goes all the way from elementary age all the way to, we have a module for seniors, so 65 and over, which is really great. We just had a volunteer doing one in a nursing home facility a couple weeks ago, which is really awesome. We have our interactive screening program, the loss and healing. So there's great programs that we'll touch on. And then we also just highlighted our chapters. So whether you're outside of Indiana, or maybe you have friends or family that are in other states, Brandon and I are more than happy to help get you connected to your chapter, so that when we go through these things, you can either activate them yourself, or we can help you get connected with your local chapter too.
So wanted to touch a little bit on research, and we know that obviously there are a lot of sort of like the title of this video here, lessons from suicide research that can be learned. And we know that storytelling is also really important when it comes to speaking about lived experience, or those that are survivors of suicide loss. So wanted to share this video, again, titled Lessons from Suicide Research, and it's one man's road to recovery. And really in this video, we just followed the story of a person with lived experience and his journey in recovery, highlighting many of the top research findings.
When I was a child, I always felt as if I was different. In high school, I did come out of my shell a bit, but with that came the partying and the alcohol struggle. Episodes of mania, depression. Going off to college was not the right thing. I went to a party one night, and I just remember feeling there's no point in going further in living anymore. And that night I decided that I was going to take my life. When I got the impulse, I acted on it. When I got home, I told no one. I picked up some jobs, and I got a job in a bank. I did with my wife, and we had a couple of boys. The self-esteem started to rise, and the confidence started to go up, and we had a life together. As I moved forward and got older, and my children got older, these episodes started to intensify again, and they were getting worse. The depressions were lower, the mania was higher, and that brought on the alcohol and the drug use. That's when I was first diagnosed that I was living with bipolar disorder. My brain wasn't thinking straight, wasn't thinking correctly. But it was like there was a voice telling me my life, and all of it was fake. None of it mattered. And it was lying to me. But I believed whatever it told me. And so I planned my attempt. I thought the plan I had was foolproof and would work. It didn't. When I was in the hospital receiving treatment, I woke up and looked at myself pretty hard and said, it's enough. You can't do this to yourself. You can't live this way anymore. That was the moment I realized that I needed to start on a path of recovery. I had to stop drinking, and I had to stop taking drugs. Another key thing for me was embracing professional help. As far as tools I was given, it started with running. From running, I found yoga. I met a group of people that embraced it and would support me. And I, in turn, supported them. I think recovery is complex, and there is no one answer for everyone. Find what works for you. Recovery is attainable, and recovery happens. And I'm living proof of that.
So another neat piece about our research at our national level is that we are able to bring researchers from that national level that we have through our research grants program and really bring them to the local level as well. So that's always another really great opportunity that we have where we can host these research connection programs here in Indiana. We can bring those to conferences or kind of just schedule them even virtually now. We have that flexibility. So it's really great to be able to connect with those researchers and bring their findings and the important work that they're doing here to our local communities.
we touched a little bit, but we just wanted to make sure that you had our contact information. And then if you did want to get connected with one of your chapters, if you're not in Indiana, you can just go to afsp.org/chapters. We'll follow up with Katie and John and Robert too, just to make sure you have any of these links after the call to have direct access to those. One of the key and signature ways to get involved with AFSP and how I found AFSP was through our walks. So in the fall, we have our Community Out of the Darkness walks, and those take place depending on the climate of where you are in the country, anywhere from September to December. So in Indiana, we can do them about the first 6 or 7 weeks into the fall, and then we're shut down for any outside activities. But places like Arizona and Florida do theirs later into the fall and into the early winter. Then in the springtime, we have our campus walks, and those start in March and run through May. It's a really awesome way to activate local high school and college campuses, but they're still open to the community as a whole as well. And then we have one signature overnight walk that's 18 miles throughout the night that takes place this past June. It was in Washington, D.C., and there's rumors that it'll be back on the East Coast again next summer too. So that's a fun one throughout the evening too. And so the funds from those events help us distribute free resources, do free trainings, and things like that too. So
they're really great events because they're free to register, they're free to attend, they're family friendly, and they really are, I mean, as you can see in the picture, like it's a very hopeful and joyous event too. So I know that it can seem like it might be a very somber event, a suicide awareness or prevention walk, but there is a lot of life and hope and joy in these events. We have people who are what we call newbies that come out every single year, and they are always so surprised at just how many people actually come out. And it's just really great to see sort of the community that does come out to show their support for people who have been impacted by suicide. I know the first time that I attended a walk, that was my first thought was there. I did not ever believe that there would be this many people in one place that cared this deeply about others who have experienced such a tragic loss or have are struggling like this. So it really is a very moving event if you have the opportunity to attend one. So a little bit more specifically about our Indiana chapter. So our Indiana chapter was chartered in 2008. So next year in May, we'll be celebrating our 16th birthday. So we're really excited about that. We were actually the first state to have an AFSP license plate program. And that program has brought in over $140,000 to our chapter since it began in 2019. So if you are driving around the state, or I mean, who knows, even around the country, and if you see a blue and white Lifesaver logo, like you see in the image there on a license plate, that is an AFSP license plate. It's a program that's still going on today. So if you are interested, or you know somebody who is interested in getting an AFSP license plate, they can do that. We have some pretty notable walks. Kelsey, do you want to take those?
Sure. So our Butler campus walks, so Butler's in Indianapolis, they're ranked 3rd in the country for campus walks, which is pretty impressive. They have like a student body of like 5,000 students, so it's pretty awesome. In the last several years, they've gone toe-to-toe with the University of Michigan that has 45,000 students, so it's pretty incredible. We call that like tiny but mighty, so they get a lot done and they do some really, really incredible work. And then our Indianapolis walk last year was ranked number 5 in the country. Right now, since we're early in the walk season, we're number 1, so I'm just going to celebrate that for as long as we can. So thanks to Katie and the Sheriff's Department too for sponsoring and all of that too. We had a benchmark year for participation too this past, was it September 9th, which was incredible and super great to see so many people come together. And then each January, the chapters come together with some of their top volunteers and have our chapter leadership conference where we learn the new research that's coming out, have some presentations and kind of learn from each other. And then the final evening is an award ceremony, and the Indiana chapter received the Richard E. Kirchhoff Chapter of the Year Award, which is out of those 74 chapters. So that's just a testament to our incredible volunteers and the community partners that we have here in Indiana. So it's our first time ever getting that. And I think I'm finally able to, in September, to get my jaw off the floor. So that's pretty great, and really, really proud of our volunteers for that. And it's a testament to what you all do and how you care and the work that you're doing too.
Mm-hmm. And it won't be the last time that we win this award, I'll tell you that. So a little bit more kind of just diving into the work that we do as an organization, but also as a local chapter. So advocacy and public policy is a really wonderful and effective way to use your voice as a mental health advocate. So this is, we have a really cool opportunity that you don't even necessarily have to be a volunteer with AFSP, but you can register as a field advocate with your specific chapter. You'll receive emails that would provide exactly what you can send to your elected officials to really communicate that importance of legislation that benefits access to mental health and suicide prevention. So anytime a piece of legislation is going through the State House, you would receive what we call like an action alert that would sort of urge you to reach out to your elected officials. It gives you the information about the bill. It gives, your contact information for your elected officials as well. So kind of does all the hard work for you and just makes it easy for you to skim, read the email, and then hit send. Also, every year we host our State Advocacy Day in the spring. So this year we hosted our event late March. It was actually the first time that we held the event in person since 2020. So it was almost like a brand new event, but we had close to 80 individuals from all over the state of Indiana come to downtown Indianapolis to the State House, where they were able to meet with each other, really share their connection to the cause and their stories. They were able to sit in on meetings specifically, face to face with their elected officials, their representatives, and really just talk about, who they are and what their connection is to suicide and to mental health, and what AFSP is and what we can do to really better our communities. And so it's a really powerful and impactful day. Again, this isn't something that you have to, pay for to be a part of. It is something that is free to register for and free to attend. We always urge people to bring their kids, especially teenagers or young college students. The elected officials always love to see youth being involved. So we had several high schools from across the state come, and it was like right before or right after their spring break, and they still wanted to spend the day with us at the State House, which I think was really incredible. They were the ones who were coming up to the table saying, like, are there any other appointments we can go to? Like, we want to go to them. So it's really amazing to see our youth getting involved in advocacy and public policy and being so open and vulnerable about mental health and suicide as well. So prevention education, this is where things start to get really good, and maybe I'm biased because this is like my area of expertise. But yeah, through our educational programs, we are able to get into schools, into communities and workplaces, coalitions, and just different organizations, and really teach them how to best prevent suicide. So AFSP has developed a number of programs and workshops that are available to communities for free or at a highly discounted rate. And again, that's thanks to the donations that we receive at our Out of the Darkness walks and just general donations to the organization. So a few of our programs are mentioned here on the screen. We have one called Talk Saves Lives. This is a very standard introduction to suicide prevention. It covers the scope of the problem of suicide. It covers the risk factors, the warning signs, as well as really what we can all do to help support somebody at risk. I'm sure throughout our years of school, we've learned what, depression is, or we, have learned if somebody is sleeping a lot, maybe they're depressed or like they might be suicidal. This just takes a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the different scenarios to look at and how it kind of breaks down some of the myths as well about, you can ask somebody if they are thinking about suicide or having thoughts of suicide. It's not going to put that idea in their head. So it's a really great program. And it really was so well received and became so popular that they created specific modules for that focus on certain populations that experience or are at higher risk for suicide. So they now have a module for our senior adults, for the corrections environment. So that's for both individuals who are incarcerated, as well as the individuals who are working with incarcerated individuals. They created one for the firearms community, for the LGBTQ plus community, for the Latinx population, and they're currently working on more as well. I know the next one coming out is for Black and African American communities. So really excited to see those continuing to roll out and just have a significant impact on the communities. It's Real, the one that's in the middle there. We actually have 3 different modules for that. So this is, we have an It's Real for middle school students, for teens, so like high school age, and then we have one for college students as well. So the middle school and the teens one really focuses on really what is mental health, how is it the same as physical health, and why it's important that we treat it as such. It also talks about what youth can do if a friend of theirs is experiencing, maybe trauma or abuse, or experiencing suicidal thoughts, or might be in a crisis, and how as a youth or as a teen, it is not all on you to put that on yourself, but it can be beneficial for you to sort of learn and see what those warning signs are, and then immediately find a trusted adult in your life to get the help, or to get your friend connected to the help that they need. And then the college students module is really unique as well. It's actually a short film, about 17 minutes, and then it's more of a discussion within the group. So I just hosted one of those on campus at IUPUI a few weeks ago, and it went really, really well. We had a good amount of students in there, and the discussion was incredible. It was actually the first time that I had hosted that in person, and I was just blown away by the maturity, and again, just the vulnerability and the respect that everybody had for all the group that was in the room to talk about this. Oh, and I jumped ahead of myself, and I already covered It's Real, Teens and Mental Health, so I'm going to move on from that one. Another really awesome prevention education program that we have, and is quickly becoming one of my favorites to present and host, is called Introduction to Supporting Those at Risk. So this is a 60-minute presentation. It provides really introductory information on how to support somebody with lived experience. And again, lived experience is, somebody who has had a history of a suicide attempt or multiple suicide attempts, or, currently lives with, suicidal ideation. So participants, who are interested in learning the basics of supporting somebody with lived experience are going to learn what research tells us about suicide and really understand that process of recovery, sort of like the gentleman in the video mentioned, this process of recovery, and really the complex effects that a suicidal crisis can have on not only a family, but also just the overall support system as a whole. So the target audience for this presentation are those who, again, support somebody with lived experience, and maybe community members who are interested in this kind of introductory education program. But those who view this will learn different strategies for helping to support somebody with lived experience, as well as just other relevant resources. Outside of programs, we also have a ton of prevention education materials, so non-programmatic materials. This is just truly a sprinkling of the pages and pages that we have. We have things that are available both in print, but also digitally, that we can get to you all for your offices, to take out on calls, or take out to other offices, or connect with clients, really whatever your work is. This is information and resources that we have available to you to utilize. So we have things for, after a suicide attempt. We have our Lifesavers manual, those two in the middle, really just they're wallet-sized cards, and they list all the different crisis resources that are available. We have resources for more specific populations, so firearms and suicide prevention, or seniors or military families. And then we have some more fun, good stuff too, like buttons and stickers and bracelets and pens, and the fun stuff that people want to take away from the table, but we also make them take some of the important stuff too. loss and healing is another really important and critical part of the organization. So, we have that piece of prevention education. So getting in front of people and teaching them about, what is suicide and mental health and those risk factors and warning signs. And so that's supporting people, hopefully before a crisis ever happens and making sure that a crisis doesn't happen. But unfortunately, we know that suicides happen and are happening, and we have to be able to support those who are survivors of suicide loss. And we do that through our loss and healing programs. So a couple of our notable programs are mentioned here on the screen. So we have International Survivor of Suicide Loss Day. And this is actually our next big event that we have coming up. This will be taking place around the globe and around the country on Saturday, November 18th. So it's always the Saturday before American Thanksgiving. And yeah, it's a day where survivors of suicide loss can really come together and just be around other survivors of suicide loss. They can do that and find connection and understanding and really just sort of shared hope through that experience of losing somebody to suicide. And then another program, which I think is really unique and is definitely not utilized enough. And I love talking about it though. So hopefully more people in our communities can learn about it, is our Healing Conversations program. So Healing Conversations, if somebody is recently bereaved, they can fill out a request for a healing conversation. So then they would get connected to a volunteer within our chapter who has attended an additional training to be a Healing Conversations volunteer. And basically they get to meet with this person who's recently bereaved, either through phone, they can do this through video chat, they can meet in person as well. And it's just an opportunity for them to connect with another lost survivor and provide that guidance and that empathy, and to really share some useful community resources for that ongoing support. And then we also have here just some samples of our loss and healing materials and booklets. Again, these are available in print, but we have them available digitally too. So the two books in the middle there are always very popular: the Children, Teens, and Suicide Loss, and then the Surviving a Suicide Loss Resource and Healing Guide. The one on the left there is a toolkit for schools. We hope that schools will obviously never have to use it, but in the event that a suicide does occur at the school, whether that's a student, a teacher, another administrator, staff member, it can even be somebody who's adjacent. So maybe a parent of a student or a sibling or something like that. This toolkit sort of helps schools and their staff in that community sort of walk through that process and really highlight some good ways to approach that conversation with students and with parents.
And with these resources too, sorry, Brandon, so the Child, Teen, and Suicide Loss booklet, we partnered with the Dougie Center. So they're experts in childhood grief. They're based out of Oregon. And we have several first responders that keep these either on hand with them, depending on their department protocol and what they're allowed to have. So the after attempt stuff they will have on them, or the after the suicide loss stuff they'll have on them, whether it's EMS or police or the sheriff's department to leave behind with the family if when appropriate.
Okay, so this next video, I wanted to throw this in here. I think, again, this really is, this is a new campaign of ours through AFSP that was just released in May, and it's called Talk Away the Dark. And alongside of this really well done video, which I think is incredibly moving, I've probably seen it 20 times now, and I think I get chills every single time, is an entire web page of resources and things, which I will show on the next slide as well. But wanted to play this, and again, I think it just tells a really beautiful story about why having discussions about suicide and mental health are extremely important.
What's the picture? Dad, are you okay?
Oh, yeah, stressed out.
And the melody is sounding so much better. I can play it for you. Wait, where's your guitar?
I give it to your cousin.
What? That guitar's like your favorite thing.
I don't believe in it.
I saw Henry today, because he hasn't seen you around. Oh,
Well,
said you go.
have more fun with your friends.
I want you there.
I'm tired. So this, I just.
I think you should go talk to someone. But I can tell that you're hurting, but we can't keep pretending like everything's fine.
I know. I'm sorry.
Have you been thinking about suicide? You can talk to me, Dad.
It's been a tough couple of months.
So like I mentioned, prior to that video, in conjunction with that video, we also created an entire campaign and web series and web page about Talk Away the Dark and talking away the dark and what that means. We also created different resources that are available, again, online. So things like conversation starters of how to talk to somebody about mental health or suicide, maybe somebody that you're concerned about, or if you're the one that's experiencing that mental health crisis, what are some of those conversation starters that you can use to reach out to somebody? Real Combo Guides are a fantastic resource that we have. They're available in both English and Spanish, but they are guides that basically help provide you some dialogue, some example dialogue of how to, again, talk to somebody about mental health, maybe reach out to somebody if you're struggling, if you're noticing those risk factors and warning signs in somebody else, how to ask them about suicide, and even a combo guide about how to talk to somebody who has recently experienced a suicide loss. So we wanted to, as we kind of near the end of the presentation, we always want people to be able to sort of take something tangible away from the presentation. And I know there's a lot of information here, but we always say that if somebody can take anything away from any of our discussions that we have here at AFSP, it's, the importance of what we can do as just everyday people, whether this is in our personal or in our professional lives, but then also knowing the resources that are available to us all to be able to help get people connected to the support that they need. So we wanted to share a little bit about having a caring conversation. I'm not sure, of those of us on the call who have had to have a caring conversation with somebody. If you have, you know that it's not always the easiest conversation to have. And I think for a lot of people, it's what stops people from talking about mental health and suicide. It's this idea that this is, it's incredibly awkward, or it seems, invasive to ask somebody these questions, or, those sort of things, or that the whole idea of the myth that, if I ask somebody about suicide, it's going to put that thought in their head. So we wanted to share some sort of tips and tricks about having a caring conversation with somebody. So you definitely want to start that conversation by saying, why you're meeting with them, and maybe why you're reaching out to them, and don't be afraid to be specific. So you can say, for example, hey, I've recently noticed lately that you've just been really, anxious and withdrawn, and you've canceled on me the last few times that we've tried to hang out or catch up or get together. Really emphasize that you want to support them and that you're not there to judge them in any way. So you can say, hey, I'm concerned about you. I want you to know that I care about you, and I'm here to support you. Don't be afraid to ask an open-ended question. You can say, so how are you? Or how have things been going lately? When the person begins to talk, resist shutting down the conversation by providing solutions or minimizing what they're saying. And I know as humans, it's almost natural for us to want to kind of fill in that silence, or to have an opportunity to say something, or offer advice to fix it or something like that. But really, it's a time for us to sort of just remain quiet and just listen empathetically. If needed, you can use prompts to have that person continue talking. So you can say, that sounds tough, or, please go on, tell me more about what that feels like or what that's been like. If the person sounds like, or they're saying things that they feel overwhelmed, or they're trapped, or they feel like they're a burden to others, those are all signs that they might be considering suicide. And again, you can ask them directly if they're suicidal by really paying attention to the words that they use and then using their language back to them. And so an example of that would be, it sounds really tough when you say that you're overwhelmed and that you feel like you're a burden to, your family and your friends. Sometimes when people feel this way, they can become so overwhelmed that they think about ending their life. Have you had thoughts about killing yourself, or have you had thoughts about suicide? If the person says no, you can absolutely, kind of breathe that sigh of relief and really just say, thank you for letting me know. And I care about you. And that's why I asked. But if the person says yes, you can just say, thank you for your honesty. Thank you for trusting me. I want to provide you with, some more resources, or I want to do what I can do to get you to the support that you need. You really want to encourage that individual to connect with mental health services. And if they are in a crisis, really what they need is to be heard and then to be connected to help. One of the most important things, as I mentioned, that we can all do is really know the resources that are available to support somebody during a mental health crisis. Not only is it important to know the lifeline number itself, but it could also be helpful to really have awareness of what a person can expect when they are calling or texting the lifeline or the crisis text line for the first time. So when encouraging the person to seek help, it's really important to know the different resources that might be available to them. In addition to recommending that person connect maybe with their primary care provider or mental health provider, they can visit a walk-in clinic. There are some other resources available should that person need more immediate help. So both the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline and the Crisis Text Line are available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And responders for both of those services are trained to support individuals that are in distress, but they can also provide guidance for how you can support somebody that you're concerned about. So you as a supporter, or as the loved one, as a family member, as the friend, if you're concerned about somebody and you're not sure what the best way to navigate that situation is, you can call 988 and a crisis counselor will be able to kind of walk you through that process. Kelsey and I have both had experiences where we have utilized 988 when working with a loved one, or it could also just be a stranger. Maybe they're not comfortable calling 988 themselves, so you can let them know that 988 has chat features on their website as well as text features, and then the 988 also has a veterans crisis line, as well as a Spanish-speaking line. We've also done things where, you can be with that person while they call 988, and you can still have that conversation simultaneously with the individual, in a crisis and the counselor from 988. I think some testimonies about why AFSP is so important and why individuals get involved with us are always fun to share. So we just had a few that we are always really proud of and wanted to put on here. So here we have Anne. She is one of our board members, and she lives in the Fort Wayne area. So she said her passion is to help those that are in need, and she wants to provide comfort and support so that they know that they're not alone. Being a part of AFSP has not only given her the opportunity to educate and help others, but it's also helped her to become a better listener. And it's given her the words to make an impact on others who are struggling. She is a mother of 3 girls, and she wants to show and teach her kids that there is hope, love, and support. Here we have Adam, another one of our board members, and he lives in the Indianapolis area. So in 2004, his brother Aaron died by suicide, and his brother had struggled with mental health issues for most of his life. his brother, or that loss really opened Adam's eyes to really the need to discuss suicide more openly, support those various crisis services that we just talked about, and provide mental health to anybody who is struggling. And since his brother passed, Adam has met so many people who have lost a loved one, to suicide, and any effort that is made towards preventing suicide is a worthwhile effort. And lastly, we have Lauren. She's a volunteer of ours from the Terre Haute area. So she says it's really important to increase mental health awareness to reduce the stigma, particularly within her own community. She volunteers with AFSP to share a message of support and hope through our innovative and our inclusive mental health programs. So we also don't want to lose connection with you all. So we would be happy to stay connected with you all. I know Kelsey and I's contact information was a few slides ago, but another easy way to get in touch with us is through our website at afsp.org/Indiana. We're also active on social media at AFSP National, and then our Indiana account is AFSP Indiana. So thank you so much. Please let us know if you have any questions, or, really how we can better support your mission, or, again, personally or professionally, to bring mental health awareness and suicide prevention to your organizations, or even just to your communities, or to your homes. Kelsey and I are happy to chat more and hang out. So thank you again so much.